Hi everybody, this is Addie Gayoso. I'm an educator at the National Museum of Women in the Arts, and I am excited to talk to you today about flag books. What I'd like to do is actually show you an example, one I made at home, and then share with you two examples of flag books in the museum's collection. And then finally, we're going to make a flag book together using some simple materials you can find around the house. So, what's a flag book? Well, a flag book looks from the outside like a basic, simple book, right? We have a spine, we have covers, but when you open a flag book, it really reveals itself to be a very dynamic book. You'll notice how the pages, when unfolded, sort of pop up and out in two different directions. The book itself is actually two covers, and then the center section, the spine, is an accordion fold. So this is really sort of an adaptation of a very basic accordion book that is made more special by adding these pages, and we'll show you how to glue them in so that they pop out in those two different directions. Now let me share with you two examples of flag books in the museum's collection. This first one is by Susan Elizabeth King. It's called Women and Cars, and you'll notice, just like this book I have in front of me, we have a cover on each side, and we have this zigzag spine at the bottom, which is the accordion fold. And then we have these three different layers of pages that fold up and out in two different directions. This particular book is meant to honor the mother and the aunt of the artist. There are a few essays about their cars, as well as a photo in the middle of the artist's mother standing in front of the family car. Another example of a flag book in our collection is this work by Sandy Washer James, and it's called How Long? This book is a very dynamic, not only in that it's a flag book and it opens in all these different directions, but there are a lot of patterns going on, and these patterns are inspired by fabrics and quilts. And on each page, there is actually a reproduction of an American stamp, a US stamp, with images of women's faces. This book is actually about women's suffrage in the United States, or women's fight for the right to vote. And the artist is really sort of celebrating women's fight for the right to vote, as well as all of the accomplishments of women in the United States across time. So those are two examples I just wanted to share. And now what I'd like to do is go through the basic materials that we'll need to make our very own flag book. So what you'll need together to make our flag book today are 4 sheets of 8.5 by 11 paper. I recommend cardstock because it's a little bit more sturdy, it's a little harder. But if you don't have cardstock at home, you can use regular paper, like copy paper. But you will need 4 sheets of that. We also need a writing implement. I like to use a pencil, that way I can erase any marks that I make. We'll need a ruler. We also need scissors, and something that will allow us to make a nice crisp fold. I've talked about bone folders before, which is a specialized artist tool that artists use to create crisp folds. If you don't have one of these at home, not everyone does, that's okay. You can use almost anything around the house that's hard but has a dull edge. Sometimes people use plastic spoons. You can even use the end of your ruler if you need to. A fingernail works just as well. So you don't really have to have a bone folder. And then the only other thing you need is a glue stick or glue. And this will be available for you just so that you can see the resources that are available on our website. We have an Art Books and Creativity curriculum, which includes bookmaking instructions, including this flag book instruction. There are PDFs for all of those. And then we also have a series of online exhibitions that explore different book formats. And our latest one is called Accordion Adaptations, and it does show some examples of flag books. So for now, I'm going to stop sharing my screen so that we can actually see my desk a little bit clearer, and then I'll go through the process of making a flag book. Okay, so the first thing that we want to do is we're going to create our spine, our accordion fold. So what we'll use for that is simply 1 sheet of our paper, and we're going to hold it horizontally or in a landscape orientation like this so that it's sort of long and in front of us. First thing you want to do is fold your sheet of paper in half. And we want to make sure that we line up our edges as precisely as possible. Cardstock is a little bit harder to fold, but it does make the book much more sturdy. I'm going to use my bone folder here. Every time we make a fold when we create artist books, we like to reinforce that fold by running something hard over it. That will allow the book to have crisp folds, and it will open much more smoothly when you're finished with the book. So now that we have that center fold, what we want to do is open our page up again. And then I'm going to take my right side and I'm going to fold it to that center fold we just created. Again, I'm going to use my bone folder or other tool to make a crisp fold. The next step, what's great about bookmaking, is typically when we do one thing on one side, we do the same thing on the other side. So it's a symmetrical process. So I folded my right side over to the center. So I'm going to do the same with my left side. I'm taking this left edge and I'm folding it to that center fold. I'll open this up so that you can see it a little bit easier. Okay, and then again, I'm just running my bone folder a couple of times over that fold. So now what I have here is a paper that has basically 4 equal panels. And in the bookmaking world, we like to call these folds, we call these valley folds. They sort of look like the valley between 2 mountains. And then when we turn the paper upside down, what we have here are what we call mountain folds. Right? So we want to turn our paper over so that we see those 3 mountain folds. And then our next step is, again, I'm going to start on the right side and I'm going to take my right edge and I'm going to fold it to that first mountain that it comes to. And then I'm going to make a nice crisp fold again. The next step is same on the other side. So I'm going to take my left edge and I'm going to bring it over and fold it up and over to meet the first mountain on the left side of my page. And again, we're going to use a nice hard tool to make a crisp edge. Great, so now what we have going on here, we still have those 3 mountains in the middle, you see? We have 1, 2, 3 mountains, and then we have 2 little valleys, 1 on each side. Our next step is, I'm going to, I like to say pinch the first mountain on the right side, and I'm going to fold that mountain over to meet the middle mountain, like this. And then again, run that bone folder across. And then our final step for the accordion fold is I'm going to take the mountain on my left side, the first mountain, and I'm going to, again, pinch that mountain, and I'm going to bring that over so that it meets the center mountain. Okay, here we go. And then what we've created here is a simple accordion fold. This fold alone can be its own book, but it's only just sort of the base of our flag book. This becomes the spine of our book. So that's 1 page. That's our spine. I'm going to just set that aside. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a cover for my book. So again, I'm going to hold this paper horizontally or in the landscape position, and I'm going to fold it in half. Okay, so now we have, almost looks like a card. So we've created a fold in the middle, and then I'm just going to cut right along that fold. Careful as you're doing this. Try to stay along that center line as much as possible. So now I have 2 equal sheets of paper. 1 becomes the front cover and 1 becomes the back cover. All right, so then we'll grab our spine again, and then I will show you how to glue it together. So the way I like to glue my covers into my books is I usually just add some glue to one of these tabs, this end tab. This. And then I take one of my covers and I'm going to place it on top of the glue and make sure I've lined it up as carefully as I can so that that sheet of paper is sort of meeting that fold, that valley fold that it comes to first. Okay, so there we go. This is the front of the book and this is the inside of the book. Okay, and then I'll do the same thing again. So I'm just going to turn this around. Again, this first tab or flap, I'm going to add glue to it. Good amount of glue all along that tab. And then again, I'm going to take my sheet of paper, the other cover, and I'm going to lay that on top of that glue and make sure that the edge meets that first fold that it comes to. Okay, so we have here is our basic structure for our book. We have our spine, the blue spine in the middle, and we have our two green covers. Next, what we want to do is actually create flags for the inside of our book. And I'll show you how to do that. I've pre-cut some, but I will show you how to do it so that you know how to do it. There are a lot of ways you can make your flags for the inside. You can use paper. I'm using construction or cardstock, I should say, not construction paper, but construction paper would also work. You can use, I like to use Post-its. Actually, that's what I used in my first book that I showed you. The nice thing about that is you can sort of pull the pages out and easily stick them back in if you want to. So that's one way of doing it if you have Post-its around the house. You can also use cardboard. I cut some cardboard flags from different food containers that I had, like cereal containers or cracker containers, so you can use those for flags as well. So you can, be creative in terms of what you use for the flags. For this particular example of a book, we're just going to use cardstock. So in order to make your flags fit the inside of your book, each flag has to be 1/3 the height of your book. And I will show you how to do that. To make this really simple, what you're going to want to do is you're going to fold again. We're going to hold our page horizontally or in the landscape position, and we're going to fold it in half. I'll use my bone folder again. And then again, we're going to cut along that center line, just like when we were making our cover. And then what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to measure out. So the length of this paper, the height of this paper is 8.5 by 11, right? Because we just cut in half an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. So about 1/3 of the 8.5 length is 2 3/4 of an inch. So I'm going to, it's not exactly 1/3, but it's about 1/3. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually measure 2 3/4, and I'm going to create a little line on my paper, little tick mark. And then I'm going to move my ruler over to that tick mark, and I'm going to measure again from that tick mark 2 3/4 inch over. And then once more, I'm going to move my ruler and create another tick mark 2 3/4 over. So what I have here, I can show you, I'll make it a little bit darker. I've created these 3 tick marks on the bottom of my paper. So I basically measured 2 3/4 inch over, 2 3/4, and then 2 3/4. And then I'm going to do this, I'm going to make the same measurements on the bottom half of my paper. Just make those tick marks again, measure 2 3/4 inch over, then move the ruler to that first tick mark, measure 2 3/4 over, make a mark, do that one more time. That way we have these sort of little tick marks here. It's a little bit hard to see, but it will allow me to use my straight edge or my ruler to create lines all the way across my paper. And those lines that we're making become the lines that I'm going to cut on. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut along those lines to create 3 equal flags or sheets of paper that are 2 3/4 inch wide. And you'll have a little bit of excess paper, but that's okay. I just want to make sure that these flags are roughly the same width. Okay, so now we have 3 flags that are the same width, and that will allow us to create flags that sort of don't overlap with one another inside the book. Okay. I also pre-cut, so you'll actually need 9 total pages, 9 flags. I showed you how to cut 3, but I already pre-prepared some others to sort of move the process along. So once you've cut all of your flags, now what we want to do is actually glue the flags inside the book. I'm going to get all this out of the way. Okay, so we have our book. And what I like to do is I sort of, here's my book. I open it up as if I'm going to read the book. And then what I like to do is I like to sort of imagine that there are 3 segments on this first part of the spine. I'm actually going to number these for you so you can see them a little bit better. You don't need to do this. This is just for instructional purposes. So I imagine that this book is sort of broken up into 3 segments, 1, 2, and 3. There's the top, the middle, and the bottom. And what I'm going to do on this first page, on this first section of the spine, is I'm going to glue 2 of my flags into the positions. I'm going to glue them into the 1 position and into the 3 position. This is a little confusing, but it will make sense, I hope. So I'm going to take my first flag, the short end, and I am going to add some glue on top of the one that I just wrote, just to cover that up. And then I'm going to glue the flag on top of that one. And I want to make sure that I line the flag up, the long end, with the top of the back cover. So I've glued that on top of the one. I'm going to leave that 2 space blank for now, and I'll show you why in a second. So next I'm going to move down to the bottom to that 3 position. And again, I'm going to add glue to that 3, right on top of the 3. And I'm going to take another one of my flags. And again, I'm going to glue that flag on top of that 3 where I added the glue. And I want to make sure I do my best to line that flag up, that bottom edge, with the bottom edge of my cover in the back. Okay, so see here we have 1 page, a blank spot in position 2, and then a second page. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to turn the book. We're just going to turn 1 page of the book. Okay. So here's 1 page, and there's that 3rd position page. And so this is our next section. And again, I'm going to make our marks 1, 2, and 3. I'm going to do this on both sides of this intersection. Okay, so here we are. We have position 1, position 2, position 3, and the same. And then what we're going to do next is we're going to take one flag this time, and I'm actually going to put glue on the 2 spot, which is on the left, on my left side. Okay, just putting glue on the 2 section. And then I'm going to lay the flag, that 3rd flag, over the 2 I just made. Make sure that it meets in the middle of that section, but it doesn't overlap that center fold. And I want to make sure that it fits in between these other 2 pages I just glued in. Okay, so now I have 1 page, 2 pages, and then 3 pages. The next thing I'm going to do is we're going to follow the same process. So next I'm going to glue pages on the 1 spot and on the 3 spot. So again, I'm going to add glue. And I'm going to take one of my pages or one of my flags, and I'm going to stick it on top of that glue, making sure that I've lined it up with the top and that it is against the center fold, but not over the center fold. And also making sure that it's not running over or on top of this page here. Okay, so here's our page in the 1 position. And now again, I'm going to go down to the 3 position. And again, I'm going to add glue on top of the 3. Take one of my flags, and I'm going to line it up with the bottom. And again, make sure it doesn't overlap that middle fold and that it doesn't overlap this page here. So let me show you our progress so far. We have 5 pages in our book, and then they open like this. See how that works? Okay. So the pattern continues as it has. So we have, as I said before, we have sort of the first page, which has 1 flag, 2 flags. Then I open this, and then we have 1 flag on this side, 2 flags on this side. We're going to open this again. And then what we're going to do is we're going to number these again. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And then our next step is to add a page in the 2 position again. Okay, so now I'm going to take another one of my flags. I'm going to add glue to the left 2. As I'm looking at this book, it's the left side. And then I'm going to add my flag, making sure that it meets that center fold in the spine but doesn't go over that fold, and also making sure that it is directly in between the 2 pages that are already there. Okay, and then our next step is on this side. This is my right side. I'm going to glue a page on 1 and glue a page on 3. So we'll do that again. So basically we're following a pattern where we glue on 2 pages, we turn the page, and then we glue on 1 page in the opposite direction. And we do that 3 times. So again, I'm going to glue on top of the 1, and I'm going to glue on top of 3. And then I'm going to turn my page once more. And again, I like to number these just for instructional purposes. So we have the 1 position, the 2 position, and the 3 position. So the last page that we're gluing on is going to be on the 2 position. And as I put the book down, all the pages are on my left. I'm going to add glue. Oops, we lost the glue. We're going to add glue right here onto the 2 spot. And then I'm going to take our last page, our 9th page, and I'm going to glue it on top of that number 2. I like to push everything down. You can use your flat tool, just run it along the spine. That'll make sure the glue is all nice and stuck. And then what we've done is we have created our very own flag book. The biggest trick with this particular book format is making sure that you have the pattern correct when you're gluing your pages in. So as I said, you do 2 pages, you flip the spine, and then you do the 3rd page in the center of those 2 pages. And the other thing to keep in mind is that the flags can't overlap at all when you're gluing them in, or the book won't open properly. So this is a bit of an advanced book format. I hope you'll give it a try. And if it makes it easier for you to sort of mark the 3 sections on the spine, you can certainly do that. I would recommend doing it with a pencil so that when you're finished with your book, you can erase all of those marks that are still left behind. And I hope you have fun trying this book format. There are instructions on our website, so you can certainly seek out the flag book PDF, which shows you exactly how to cut the pages and how to assemble it. But I hope you get to making, and I hope you enjoy creating this particular format. Thanks so much. Bye.